1. The primary purpose of the National Professional Practice Examination (NPPE) is to A. Assess technical engineering knowledge. B. Evaluate professional ethics and law understanding. C. Test mathematical problem-solving skills. D. Measure project management competencies. 2. Which of the following best describes the concept of professional responsibility under Canadian engineering law? A. Loyalty to the client above all. B. Protecting the public's health, safety, and welfare. C. Maximizing corporate profits. D. Following only employer policies. 3. A conflict of interest occurs when A. An engineer works on multiple projects simultaneously. B. An engineer's personal interests could compromise professional judgment. C. An engineer disagrees with a colleague's opinion. D. An engineer changes employment. 4. The duty to report unsafe engineering practices is primarily grounded in A. The engineer's obligation to their employer. B. The engineer's obligation to protect the public. C. The engineer's contract terms. D. The engineer's private judgment. 5. Which regulatory body oversees professional engineers in Canada? A. Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board. B. Provincial Territorial Engineering Associations. C. Engineers Canada directly. D. Federal Ministry of Industry. 6. Which of the following is considered professional misconduct? A. Refusing to accept a project outside one's competence. E. Failing to safeguard confidential client information. C. Participating in continuing education. D. Seeking advice from a senior colleague. 7. Engineers are required to maintain competence through A. Mentoring only. B. Mandatory continuing professional development. C. Avoiding challenging assignments. D. Annual ethics exams. 8. A key feature of professional self-regulation in engineering is that A. Engineers regulate themselves through elected associations. B. Government agencies directly manage all engineering work. C. Corporations define engineering standards. D. Universities set licensing requirements. 9. Which of the following would be considered plagiarism in professional engineering practice? A. Citing sources in a report. B. Submitting another's work as one's own without credit. C. Quoting with proper acknowledgement. D. Collaborating with colleagues openly. 10. An engineer discovers a serious safety defect after a project is completed. The appropriate action is to A. Ignore the issue to avoid liability. B. Immediately report the defect to relevant authorities. C. Wait until the next inspection cycle. D. Discuss it only with personal friends. 11. Which legal framework governs the practice of engineering in Canada? A. Federal Environmental Law. B. Provincial Territorial Engineering Acts. C. International Engineering Codes. D. Municipal Building Codes. 12. Which ethical principle requires engineers to present data truthfully without misrepresentation? A. Confidentiality. B. Honesty and integrity. C. Loyalty. D. Competitiveness. 13. Informed consent from clients is required when A. Discussing project budgets. B. Providing services that involve risks and technical decisions. C. Drafting technical drawings. D. Filing expense reports. 14. A disciplinary hearing against a professional engineer is typically conducted by A. A provincial territorial court. B. The Professional Engineering Association's Discipline Committee. C. a jury of non-engineers. D. An employer's HR department. 15. Which is a key difference between negligence and professional misconduct? A. Negligence involves intent to harm. B. Misconduct includes breaches of ethics, not just performance. C. Negligence only applies to corporate employees. D. Misconduct is not punishable by license suspension. 16. Engineers Canada primarily. A. Regulates the practice of engineering. E. Supports provincial, territorial associations and national standards. C. Issues licenses to engineers. D. Manages project budgets. 17. The duty to warn refers to an engineer's responsibility to A. Warn employers of low profits. B. Inform stakeholders of hazards that could harm the public. C. Advise clients of project delays. D. Notify authorities of taxation issues. 18. Which of the following best illustrates due diligence? A. Delegating tasks without supervision. B. Taking reasonable steps to prevent harm in professional practice. C. Prioritizing deadlines over safety. D. Ignoring client feedback. 19. An engineer who stamps a design outside their area of competence is guilty of A. Professional negligence. B. Misrepresentation and misconduct. C. Academic dishonesty. D. Acceptably practice if licensed. 20. Engineers are expected to act as fiduciaries when A. Their professional judgment impacts client and public trust. B. They file annual tax reports. C. They supervise non-engineering staff. D. They join professional societies. 21. Which principle is central to codes of ethics across Canadian engineering associations? A. Maximizing shareholder value. B. Safeguarding public health and safety. C. Loyalty to government only. D. Promoting industry competition. 22. When advertising engineering services, professionals must ensure A. Statements are factual and not misleading. B. Exaggerated claims are acceptable. C. Competitor criticism is encouraged. D. Fees are hidden until contract signing. 23. Unauthorized practice of engineering refers to A. Work performed by licensed engineers only. B. Work performed by unlicensed individuals presenting themselves as engineers. C. Students completing assignments. D. International collaboration. 24. Intellectual property rights in engineering typically include A. Patents, trademarks, and copyrights. B. Confidential salary information. C. Public domain documents. D. Government regulations. 25. An engineer is asked to falsify test results to secure a contract. The ethical response is to A. Refuse and report the request. B. Comply to keep the client satisfied. C. Delegate the task to a subordinate. D. Alter results slightly without disclosure. 26. The standard of care expected of a professional engineer is measured against A. The minimum performance of any worker. B. What a reasonable, competent professional would do. C. Employer profit expectations. D. International competitors' benchmarks. 27. Which of the following actions is consistent with sustainable development principles in engineering? A. Designing systems that minimize environmental harm. B. Ignoring environmental considerations for cost savings. C. Prioritizing speed over sustainability. Avoiding stakeholder consultation. 28. A whistleblower engineer is protected under law when A. They disclose confidential trade secrets for personal gain. B. They report unethical or unsafe practices in good faith. C. They criticize management style. D. They resign from a company. 29. Engineers must avoid holding out, which means A. Misrepresenting themselves as qualified in areas they are not. E. Refusing to sign contracts. C. Withholding project reports. D. Declining promotion offers. 30. Which of the following is a potential consequence of professional misconduct? A. Increased annual salary. B. Suspension or revocation of license. C. Automatic promotion. D. Government funding. 31. In contract law, consideration refers to A. Mutual exchange of value between parties. B. Politeness during negotiation. C. Ethical obligations. D. Professional courtesy. 32. Which principle applies when an engineer ensures accurate cost estimates to avoid misleading a client? A. Integrity. B. Conflict of interest. C. Confidentiality. D. Loyalty. 33. Confidential information obtained during a project may be disclosed only when it is required by law. B. It benefits the competitor. C. The client has not objected. D. It increases personal profit. 34. Which engineering situation most clearly requires licensure? A. Researching general theories. E. Performing design work that affects public safety. C. Tutoring engineering students. D. Writing non-technical reports.